What if I wanted to hold a normal 9 to 5:30 job down, but also ride at the highest level? Is it even possible? Well, to find out, I set myself a challenge. Can I train like a pro, but also hold down a normal job? So first things first, I need to find a coach that can set me a program, someone who knows the ins and outs about how a World Tour rider trains. Right, I'm joined with Stefan of Spokes Coaching, and Stefan, I'm hoping you're going to sort me out a training program.
When I try to build your training, I try to keep in mind your rider profile, obviously, as you're kind of a sprinter guy, I would say. And I, of course, when you said pro training, I could give you a recovery week in December, which would be doable easily. But I opted for something that's not average, a little bit more than average, but not maximum volume week. So I think it should be doable. We'll see, of course, how good you do.
And if you were someone who was aspiring to be pro, but you still had to work, how would you go about fitting in your training, your recovery, but also working to earn a living?
Oh, that's a really tough one. So of course it depends on your goals, where you want to shine. If you want to shine at a race that is basically 5 hours full gas, like the national championships, it's super hard because you need to get the volume in. Of course, you can get the most out of every training session by doing short, intense sessions. But then it depends on the rider type if he or she can actually maintain that high intensity for a longer period in a race. So basically, you can do a lot with short sessions, but targeting those long races, it's really a challenge.
Yeah, and how important nowadays are the endurance rides? I mean, back in the day, it was all about long hours, 5, 6, 7 hour rides. And now it's kind of got more scientific. We're now looking at, the shorter rides, but more intense. And we're looking at all the different efforts. So are we seeing a change in the tide where we might actually have more time if you're riding pro or if you're riding as a pro quantity rider than you had, 10 years ago?
If you're preparing for your Thursday night crit, of course you can take a shortcut by ditching endurance for the most part, but thinking of a pro level, especially at very long races, to a certain degree, you still need to put in the hours. Of course, the scientific approach now with a lot of interval work changes it, but still it's a lot of volume that you have to put in.
So this program is typical of a Tour de France sprinter or a classics rider a few weeks out of a big event like the Tour de France or a classics event. The week I've been set starts with Monday, which is an hour and a half with a massage. Tuesday is 4.5 hours with a training session with a PT, so that's working on your core. The Wednesday session is a 1.5 hour fasted ride before breakfast and a 2 hour and 40 minutes with efforts. Thursday is 5 hours and a massage appointment. Friday I get rest day. Saturday, no carbs morning ride, 3 hours and an hour and a half after breakfast. And Sunday, it's a big endurance day, 5.5 hours. So that's my program. Now I only have 3 days. Well, I need to do 3 days of it, but I hope that this 3 days will just show you how hard it is to hold down that 9 to 5 job, but also put in the hours those World Tour or Pro Conti riders put in. Tomorrow I've got a solid day at the office, so I've got to be in the office for 9 and I've got to be there till 5:30. And tomorrow's session is 4.5 hours in the morning, so that includes 4 times 15 minutes of sub FTP efforts, 90% of FTP, and include 15 seconds bursts up to 750 watts every 2 minutes. And I've also got a training session with a PT for core chucked in there. So I'm just trying to think how I'm going to fit all this in. My plan is to get 2 hours in before work and then 2.5 hours in after work, and then I'll try and fit in a PT session after that. So I guess it's going to be an early morning. So I'm going to set my alarm. I need to be in the office for 9, so I need to set my alarm for... I need to leave here at 6. So I guess it's a 5 a.m. wake up tomorrow. Right, 5. I'm going to add "get up, you lazy sod" in there, just to make sure I get in. Turbo I go. So that's my 2 hours done, and I gotta say, I actually feel good. Woken me up 2 hours before breakfast, now to have some breakfast, showered, changed, and off to work. I mean, I would normally just do that once in a day, and I've got to do it again tonight, so not looking forward to that, but so far so good. Right, off we go to work. It's 12 o'clock now, feeling a little bit tired, and it worries me that, well, I just don't think I'll be able to maintain this every single day for more than a day. But first day in, I've still got solid 5.5 hours left of work, and then I hit the bike again. Right, more filming. So today we're talking all about nutrition.
So I'm joined here with Sir Bradley Wiggins, the winner of the 2012 Tour de France, and I thought, well, I'd ask him the same question. Brad, do you think it is even possible to hold down a 9-to-5 job and, well, train like a World Tour or Pro Conti pro?
Probably not, but it depends what the level you're aiming. Do you need to be training like a World Tour pro? Unless you are one, there's probably no need to, really. It all depends on what your goals are. I think you can take, if you're trying to do your best while having a job and perform at the best, and obviously World Tour riders are deemed to have the best training programs, etc., etc. You can take elements of that and reconstruct it to fit around your life. But I think, you know, being able to go out and do 7 hours and maybe do a calorie deficit ride in order to burn fats and things, it's not really possible if you have to go to work.
And I guess the biggest thing that you're missing is that recovery time. How important is recovery to be able to aid, you know, you know, doing at the top level, racing?
Well, I think it's everything really, and most people have families as well. And obviously, if you're working 9 to 5 plus the travel hours around it, you're coming back. You probably wouldn't have much of a marriage if you then went out and did 3 or 4 hours. Yeah. Plus, you know, in the winter times, you know, we lose light at the times that you want to go out and train. So I think it's almost impossible to, but that's not to say that you can't take elements of that. And I think it's more just the quality. Chris Boardman, when he turned professional in 1994, was training very much under Pete Woodworth's zone system, which had just come in. So it's purely science. They developed Maxim, which was the first glucose polymer that you could fuel to the same extent that by eating food. And Chris Boardman, for the first year or two at GAN, was only doing 8-hour training weeks. But every minute of that 8 hours was of some quality. So he basically cut out all the junk miles, really, which we know are essential in some aspects of the sport in terms of fat burning and efficiency and that. But Chris took a very scientific structure, predominantly because he believed in the science and numbers, but also because he didn't really enjoy riding his bike. So it was, he'd be out the door 2 hours at 350 watts and back, rather than doing 6 hours at 200 watts. And it worked for him for a period, but he soon realised that he'd have to train a lot. When his goals changed to trying to win the Tour de France, he accepted that he was going to have to do aspects of the Tour which are required and the demands of the event in order to try and win it. So it really depends on what your goals are.
And as a World Tour rider and coming from kind of your background, would you say, you know, how, like to the average person watching this, is being a World Tour rider all consuming?
Yeah.
Does it take up your entire life?
Well, I think it has to, and I think by the nature of the fact you're getting paid, like most people's jobs, you know, you take it serious, and cycling and elite sport in general now has become so brutal, and it is all consuming really, and it does consume you because it's about getting the best out of yourself on a daily basis. And the best out of yourself on a daily basis is not just what you do on the bike, it's what you put in your mouth, and it's also the rest. So simple things like, you know, you may go shopping for a day with your family on a day off, and that seemed to be unprofessional. It's like you need to put your feet up because the recovery time is just as important as the training miles. And so that answers the question that it is almost impossible to train like a World Tour rider and have a 9 to 5 job. But then I'd say that you don't need to, is what I would say, because the reason they train as a World Tour rider is because they have to ride World Tour races.
So it's just ticked by 5:30. Time to go back home. I'm not gonna lie, I'm actually feeling quite tired. A day at work actually takes a lot out of you, so trying to train around it is definitely quite difficult. But an hour's drive home and then back on the bike. Right, I'm an hour in to my ride with the GCN Club. Luckily I've got Manon and Connor with me. So I've got an hour and a half after this. It's fair to say my legs are sore, but been enjoying some good company with the GCN Club. And of course, Manon and Connor. So it's 9:30. I've done 2.5 hours on the on Zwift tonight, so that's 4.5 hours in the day. I'm absolutely shattered, but I'm gonna get some food, then go to bed. And tomorrow it's another early start. So, as you can tell, I've just got up. I'm feeling pretty tired today. But I've got an hour and a half to do before 9 o'clock. Time is 7 o'clock. Right, 9 o'clock, coffee in hand. Now to start some work. I've got to say though, I do actually feel a little bit better for doing some exercise before work. I think it's just the accumulation of yesterday's. I reckon I could put out an hour most mornings and not be too bad. It's just the evening workout as well. That kind of takes out of me. Now, in order to show you how hard it really is and to show the amount of recovery needed and the amount of strain upon my body, the training and working will be, I'm using Whoop. Now, Whoop is designed to kind of show you how much recovery it needs, so it helps monitor your sleep and also your training so that you can perform at your very best. So I'm currently, so it's day 2 into my train like a pro around to 9 to 5. I'm whooping at 37%. 100% is when you're ready to go and you're ready to do a big day or race. And obviously going into the red means that you need recovery and you need to relax. And amber is, well, move forward with caution. Which doesn't really bode well, seeing as I'm only 1 day in to my 3 days of training like a pro. I'm going to use my lunch break to have a snooze, so bear with me. Oh. Time is 5:30, the sun is still up, so after a day at the desk, I'm gonna hit the bike. Right, 2 hours, 40 minutes with some efforts planned. Hopefully I can do it before the sun goes down. Fingers crossed. So while I'm putting in my training, there is one person that did a degree while riding at high level. And his name is Larry Warbass, and he rides for AG2R Le Mondial. And he managed to do it, but I think he found it easier when he stopped uni and concentrated on cycling. But here's what he had to say.
When I was going to university, and I was still racing for the national team, and I was still trying to like live the college student life. So I was trying to, get really good grades, still have a social life, and like train to race at like a high elite level. It was really hard, It's like I didn't sleep very much, and I definitely wore myself down. And then also I went to school in Michigan, where I'm from, and it's really cold there. So I spent a lot of time on the turbo, and this was before Zwift existed, so it wasn't really that pleasant. I was still able to train pretty hard, but not to the level that I could train now. And also just trying to juggle around my class schedules and everything. It wasn't super easy, but I'm glad I did it. I think I learned a lot during that time period, just on time management and everything.
So, the sun is slowly going down behind me.
and I'm feeling pretty tired today, not gonna lie. What I'm slightly worried about is I've got a very early start tomorrow morning to be able to get all the training in before I start work. So I think you can see that it's near impossible to do all this training, be able to hold down 9 to 5, be able to eat. And if you want a social life or any sort of family life, then well, that comes into it as well. So yeah, it's hard.
Right, the time is now 5 o'clock. And on my training program, I'm meant to be doing 5 hours. And I've got leave by 6:30. So I've only really got an hour. I think it's fair to say that it's nearly impossible to do this program and do a 9 to 5 job. I'm gonna go back to bed. Sorry, coach.
So as you can imagine, being a GCN presenter, what isn't your typical 9 to 5 office job. I mean, I get to ride in cool places, but as well, we got some early mornings that were spent in kit. And luckily today, I'm joined by Mark Beaumont, and we're doing some shooting today. And I thought, well, it's a fantastic opportunity to ask Mark how he's become an ultra endurance athlete, as well as holding down all the other commitments you've got to do. So yeah, how on earth do you do it?
It's a juggle. I mean, for 15 years I've been trying to sort of both plan the event and do the event. And I guess for any adventure athletes, you know, watching and trying to understand about time management and training, it's that added element of the fact that there's no systems and structures around you. If you're a pro rider, a tour rider, you know, it comes with, that is your job, ride the bike. Whereas everything that happens off the bike is also your job when you're an adventure athlete. So I've always relished that. I've always enjoyed that challenge, but it's a heck of a juggle. In fact, the person holding the camera is Laura Penhall, my performance manager, and on the build up to the Round the World in 80 Days, her role was as much about my time management as an athlete and getting me to, you know, my best possible conditioning and fitness, whilst also, you know, juggling the workload of, you know, racing sponsorship and logistics for this incredible 18,000 mile mission, you know, young family life. So I remember so many conversations with Laura on the performance front were actually about my recovery and about, you know, just how we juggle this. You know, we just didn't have enough time in the day, as opposed to, you know, just geeking out on your FTP and HIIT sessions.
So I've just got back from work. It's 8 o'clock, and there's just no way I'm gonna be able to fit 5 hours in. So, well, I guess this is the end of my challenge. And let's just say it wasn't easy. No, far from it actually. Whew, I thought it was gonna be easier than this. So I've come to the end of my 3-day experiment, and to tell you the truth, I'm absolutely knackered. Holding down a 9 to 5 job and then training a world tour training program around it, I think you can agree, is near impossible. It just shows the importance of sleep. Performing at your highest, whether it be at work or whether it be in training, you need sleep and you need recovery. That doesn't mean it's impossible though to do university work or work, you know, a job while training and performing at a high level. I guess you need to be really smart with your training, be efficient. The hours that you put in training, make it quality based, getting in some good efforts. Maybe even think about getting a coach so you're performing at your best when you need to be. And I guess as well, we learned from Brad and Larry Warbass that if you're specific with your goals, then you can train towards those goals. So if you don't really need those endurance hours, then you don't need to spend the time doing it. So that's the end of the video. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and it's just showed you how difficult it is to train around a 9 to 5 job, but it's not impossible. Get good at time management and work on specific training. Right, I'm gonna go and sleep for a week, and hopefully Si and Dan don't meet me for work. I'll see you in the next video. Oh yeah, don't forget, give it a big thumbs up.